Shabbat Shalom. Good morning. Howdy do, true patriot. Thanks for coming in, seeing me. Wow. 6 people have already said hi this morning with a thumbs up. This using the camera on the phone, I see stuff I normally don't see while I'm doing these broadcasts. Let me see if we can't get a little more technology going here. Hey, true patriot. You're gonna have to let me know if these all connect up and all. Good morning, good morning. Can you hear me? Am I coming in okay? I don't have anything complete that I planned on doing by this point in time. I woke up, got ready to get ready, and took a little dab medication. Closed my eyes for a half a second, hour later, and it was 2 minutes till 10. It's like, I guess I needed some more sleep. Real quick here. This is throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I attempt to read from ancient texts, look through them, evaluate them, see how or why they may have at one time or another been removed from the spirituality that I was raised in. Okay, I think I found what I'm looking for this week. Does everybody hear me okay? Let me get up a separate chat here. There we go. I started oh, thank you, Volunteer Patriot. Appreciate that. Let me know everything's good. In that case, I'll start getting all the little YouTube formalities out of the way and that kind of thing. Well, this is not a YouTube formality, but this might be an issue for me. I can't find my, there it is, Grinder. I'm Brian Canotto. I do read texts online from the ancient texts of some see them as esoteric, some see them as history. I hope to share different points of view and have people in a chat come and share their points of view, and hopefully as we read through these different texts we can begin to see where they may have likenesses and differences, and try to figure out where the points of view of the different texts are coming from and things like that. So in our chat I do ask that every topic be available for discussion. Just please, no personal attacks on each other, no name calling. I like for everybody to be able to have a free flow of interest, and so far we haven't had any issues. I appreciate that of those that have been here. I also am a Florida medical patient. Use marijuana for my Crohn's disease and for my degenerative bone disease. and you will see me partake of it. If you are in a state that this is not legal, please do not follow my example. Uh, if it is a legal state and it might medically be beneficial for you, I have found that it's helped me and it has begun the process of getting me out of a serious Crohn's attack. And I'm looking forward to hopefully our state making it to where I can produce enough to create healing doses as opposed to just maintenance doses or pain medication or that type of thing. Um, as I sat and thought about things this week, and in light of some of the things we read in the last text, um, there's a story in the tablets of Enki that we talked about where a certain number, which being 300 of what they call the Igigi or the Anunnaki on Mars, came back to Earth and went and plundered from the women of Earth those that they wanted to be wives, and thereby mixed and made some type of offspring. Began colonizations in different areas. Um, there's other places that this story is told. Some of them which are older, which I'm hoping to get to, but I still haven't found good copies in English. Um, but the one I've chose for today is I'm going to go to the book of Enoch, and this seems to be in the same Bible time or same time frame or timeline as the Bible. The character in it seems to come out of what we consider the Old Testament scriptures, but it tells a similar story, but from a different point of view of this mixing of different, uh, well, the angels with men. So, real quick here, China Empire, thanks for coming by and seeing us. Uh, I've sat through some of your live streams while I was working. Um, when I work, I don't usually say anything because I'm busy. So, but it's good to see you visiting. And Maine, good morning, buddy. Thanks for coming in. Um, the one of the qualities of these ancient texts is we often have a combination of what seems to be ethereal or otherworldly, and in the case of Enoch, they are referred to as watchers, and I'm trying to remember exactly what the word is, but it actually translates to the similar or same word found in the Sumerian text. Cheers, everybody. Good morning. A little abusive OG again this week. Good morning, Denise. And as Maine says, D nice. If there ever is anybody who does try to show kindness, that is D nice. Appreciate you coming in, and I'll try not to have that vision. I'll let you do your thing while I read. Oh, I took all my medicines between 10 and 11 and have eaten and all that good stuff. So we'll get to see how that all goes while we read. This was always one of my kids' favorite stories because before I read anything outside of the Bible or what was considered Christian text, which there are other texts which have been removed from the scriptures at different points in history. And if you go back and read those arguments from a lot of the early church fathers and stuff about why these texts will remove, you will see blatant anti-Semitism. You will see blatant judgment. You'll see a change of a system going from law to grace. Um, each time there's kind of a change in the direction of the word, so to speak, by those in authority. They have to either discredit or redefine certain books or scriptures. And this one I'm about to read, it makes it very clear that one of the definitions within the Bible, which is the sons of God, are beings that are not from this earth. And in order to form certain doctrines, this book had to go away a long time ago. This book also hints at the fact that there might be other missing histories which they didn't want anybody to find, and which had been buried and lost in time through the different catastrophes. And so I'm going to start here. I do two things at once. The word of the blessings of Enoch. How he blessed the elect and righteous, who were to exist in the time of trouble, rejecting all the wicked and ungodly. Enoch, a righteous man who was with God, answered and spoke, while his eyes were open, and while he saw a holy vision in the heavens. This the angel showed me. I'll tell you what I'll do real quick. I will drop the link over into the chat. And yes, there are arguments by different people as to whether you should read the first copy of Enoch, the second copy of Enoch, any of the little Enoch pieces in between them. But I think that I'd like to find the one that they don't like the most and find out why they don't like it. So we're going with first Enoch. First of all, I want to make notice of the fact that this being a pre-flood text would, in our definition, be somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 6,000 BC, or BCE, before our common era, before the Christ, which they've tried to get rid of but have been unable to. This was written to those who are going to exist in the time of trouble. And the time of trouble we find in Scripture is clearly during this next period of cataclysm, this next evolution that the earth or revolution, evolution, however you want. I mean, it's a whole big thing that's going down, and actually, Scripture says that we should pray that it doesn't happen in our lifetime or our children's lifetime. Now, that seems kind of harsh for our grandchildren, but I think that's so that us who see and know what's coming are good and gone. But anyways, this the angel showed me. From them I heard all things and understood what I saw. That's which will not take place in this generation, but in a generation which is to succeed at a distant period on account of the elect. So he's being given this picture for those people so that they can have a understanding of what's going on, but we'll see that as it writes on. Upon their account I spoke and conversed with him. Who will go forth from his habitation, the Holy and Mighty One, the God of the world? Who will hereafter tread upon Mount Sinai, appear with his host, and be manifested in the strength of his power from heaven, and shall be afraid, and the watchers be terrified? Great fear and trembling shall seize them, even to the ends of the earth. The lofty mountains shall be troubled, and the exalted hills depressed, melting like a honeycomb in a flame. The earth shall be immerged, and all things which are in it perish, while judgment shall come upon all, even upon all the righteous. But to them, that's the righteous, shall he give peace. He shall preserve the elect, and towards them exercise clemency. Then shall all belong to God, be happy and blessed, and the splendor of the Godhead shall illuminate them. Behold, he comes with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon them and destroy the wicked, and reprove all the carnal for everything which the sinful and ungodly have done and committed against him. So, real quickly, we have in what's considered chapter 1 him saying that this is written for those that are going to be preserved. Then in chapter 2, we have the words that are taken from Scripture at what many call the second coming or the coming of Christ. This is the period when things get so bad in this coming cataclysm that if he did not actually come forth himself, the world would be destroyed. But that's in another text. All who are in the heavens know what is transacted there. They know that the heavenly luminaries change not their paths, that each rises and sets regularly, every one at its proper period, without transgressing the commands which they have received. They behold the earth and understand what is there transacted from the beginning to the end of it. They see that every work of God is invariable in its period of its appearance. They behold summer and winter, perceiving that the whole earth is full of water, and that the cloud, the dew, and the rain refresh it. So here he gives a description that the stars are the witness of everything that happens from the beginning of the creation until the end of it. They consider and behold every tree, how it appears to wither, and every leaf to fall off, except of the 14 trees which are not deciduous, which wait from the old to the appearance of the new leaf for 2 or 3 winters. And those are a tree that I'm not sure about. I know that, of course, he's talking about the conifers, the different pines and stuff like that. But this was all pre-flood, so I'm not exactly sure how many of these different variations came through the flood. Again, they consider the days of summer, that the sun is upon it at its very beginning, while you seek for a covered and shady spot on account of the burning sun. While the earth is scorched up with fervid heat, you become incapable of walking either upon the ground or upon the rocks in consequence of the heat. So here it's describing that during the period of time of the summer of this era, the earth is going to be scorching hot because of the sun. They consider how the trees, when they put forth their green leaves, become covered and produce fruit, understanding everything, and knowing that he who lives forever does all these things for you, that the works at the beginning of every existing year, that all his works are subservient to him and invariable, yet as God has appointed, so are all things brought to pass. They see too how the seas and the rivers together complete their respective operations. But you endure not patiently, nor fulfill the commandments of the Lord, but you transgress and culminate his greatness. And malignant are the words in your polluted mouths against his majesty. And I'm going to say, as a point of personal testimony, reading this was during a period of time that I was struggling with the words that were coming out of my mouth. And it was one of the firm verses that made me lose the, and I'm going to be very open, the goddamn. Something I try very hard not to say, because we're either damning him or damning somebody in his name when we do that. And that is maligning love, which is not proper. And it describes now what happens. You withered in heart, no peace shall be to you. Therefore your days shall you curse, and the years of your lives shall perish. Perpetual execration shall be multiplied, and you shall not obtain mercy. So it's saying as you continually curse and as you continually live in the curses, uh, it's multiplied. It gets worse and worse, heavier and heavier, to the point where you no longer even look for mercy. To be honest with you, in some cases, people actually become belligerent toward a creator. And when you become belligerent toward that which creates you, how do you obtain mercy? How do you ask for mercy in that case, which is our responsibility? In those days you shall resign your peace with the eternal maledictions of all the righteous, and sinners shall perpetually execrate you. And I need to look that up to be more clear on what that's saying. It says, it shall execrate you with the ungodly. The elect shall possess light. And real quick, if somebody would look up execrate and throw a definition into the chat or some such, I'd appreciate that, so we might be able to maybe see where I'm missing out in that translation. It's been years since I've looked that up. The elect shall possess light, joy, and peace, and they shall inherit the earth. But you unholy, shall be accursed. All right, so the elect during this period shall possess light. They will have joy and peace. And I want to point out something here. They shall inherit the earth. In the New Testament scriptures, the humble, the peacemaker, they inherit the earth. Everybody keeps looking forward to a heaven, but if you read over and over in the ancient text, the earth is what is man's birthright. It's what we were created to be part of. But you unholy, shall be accursed. Then shall wisdom be given to the elect, all of whom shall live, and not again transgress by the impiety or pride, but shall humble themselves, possessing prudence, and shall not repeat transgression. And I think that's a key there, is not repeating our transgressions. I believe that's where the term, what am I looking for? Repentance. Repentance means that we see that we've done wrong. We've tried to make a payment for it, for doing wrong, and then we try not to repeat that wrong. That is a sign or show, a thing that shows that you're one of the elect. They should not be condemned the whole period of their lives, not die in torment and indignation. But the sum of their days shall be completed, and they shall grow old in peace, while the years of their happiness shall be multiplied with joy and with peace forever, the whole duration of their existence. So just as the curse compounds, so also does the blessings. All right, now we're going back to the period of time. It happened after the sons of men had multiplied in those days that the daughters were born to them, elegant and beautiful. And when the angels, the sons of heavens, beheld them, they became enamored of them, saying to each other, Come, let us select for ourselves wives from the progeny of men, and let us beget children. Then their leader, Semyaza, said to them, I fear that you may perhaps be indisposed to the performance of this enterprise, and I alone shall suffer for so grievous a crime. But they answered him and said, We all swear and bind ourselves by mutual execrations that we will not change our intention, but execute our projected undertaking. Then they swore all together, and they all bound themselves by mutual execrations. Their whole number was 200, who descended upon Ardis, which is the top of Mount Armin. And a translation of that is Mount Hermon, which is still standing, and everybody knows where it's at in the Levant. The mountain, therefore, was called Armin, because they had sworn upon it and bound themselves by mutual execrations. These are the names of their chiefs: Samyaza, who was their leader, Kabaramel, Akabil, Tamiel, Ramuel, Danel, Azakiel, Sarikanyal, Asael, Aramers, Batral, Anain, Zavib, Samsavil, Ertel, Terel, Yom Yael, Er, Erzayal. These were their prefects. These were the prefects of the 200 angels, and the remainder who were all with them. Then they took wives, each choosing for himself, whom they began to approach, and with whom they cohabitated, teaching them sorcery, incantations, and the dividing of roots and trees. And the women conceiving brought forth giants, whose stature was each 300 cubits. These devoured all which the labor of men produced, until it became impossible to feed them, when they turned themselves against men in order to devour them, and began to injure birds, beasts, reptiles, and fishes, to eat their flesh one after another, and to drink their blood. Then the earth reproved the unrighteousness. Now, one difference between this and other texts that we have read is that these giants were not like 12 foot, 15 foot, 18-foot men. These giants were 30 feet to 300 feet upon estimation. um, how and all I don't understand, but I do want to point out that the end product was cannibalism, and that in the stuff that I studied through the occult and through the use of blood, I believe that the cannibalism was more than just for food. Um, they were trying to get in touch with other entities as well. Moreover, Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, breastplates, and fabrications of mirrors, in the workmanship of bracelets and ornaments, the use of paint and the beautifying of the eyebrows, the use of stones of every valuable and select kind, and all sorts of dyes, so that the world became altered. Impiety increased, fornication multiplied, and they transgressed and corrupted all their ways. Amzarach taught all the sorcerers and dividers of roots. Armers taught the solution of sorcery. Barkayal taught the observers of the stars, or astrologers. Akabil taught signs. Tamiel taught astronomy, and Asardel taught the motion of the moon. And men, being destroyed, cried out, and their voice reached the heaven. Then Michael and Gabriel, Raphael, Suriel, and Uriel looked down from heaven, and saw the quantity of blood which was shed on the earth, and all the iniquity which was done upon it, and said one to another, It is the voice of their cries. The earth, deprived of her children, has cried, even to the gates of heaven. And now you, O you Holy One of heaven, the souls of men complain, saying, Obtain justice for us with the Most High. Then they said to their Lord, the King, You are the Lord of lords, God of gods, King of kings. The throne of your glory is forever and ever is your name sanctified and glorified. You are blessed and glorified. You have made all things. You possess power over all things, and all things are open and manifest before you. You behold all things, and nothing can be concealed from you. You have seen what Azael has done, how he has taught every species of iniquity upon the earth, and has disclosed the world all the secret things which are done in the heavens. Samyaza also has taught sorcery, to whom you have given authority over those who are associated with him. They have gone together with the daughters of men, have lain with them, have become polluted, and have discovered crimes to them. The women likewise have brought forth giants. Thus has the whole earth filled with the blood and with iniquity. And now behold, the souls of those who are dead cry out, and complain even to the gate of heaven. Their groaning ascends, nor can they escape from the unrighteousness which is committed on the earth. You know all things before they exist. You know these things and what has been done by them, yet you do not speak to us. What, on account of these things, ought we do to them? It's funny how each week there's some kind of little thing which ties together. And this time I'm not talking about the little words I'm reading. But once again, after a whole week of seeing nothing, keeping the kitchen completely clean, I have a fruit fly flying around this room again. Fortunately, the Lord of Flies did not send a swarm of mosquitoes this time. Then the Most High, the Great and Holy One, spoke and sent, oh boy, Arsalah Lalair to the son of Lamech. And it says here, and I'm going to use this, that it was the angel Uriel. Arsalah translates in Greek to Uriel. And I'm going to back up real quick, because up here we were given the name of the 5 angels which stand at the throne of the Most High, and Uriel being among them. Lamech being the father of Noah in scriptures. And if I remember right, Lamech is Enoch's son. He says, saying, say to him in my name, conceal yourself. Then explain to him the consummation which is about to take place. For all the earth shall perish, the waters of deluge shall come over the whole earth, and all things which are in it shall be destroyed. And now teach him how he may escape, and how his seed may remain in all the earth. Again, the Lord said to Raphael, bind Azazel hand and foot, cast him into darkness, and opening the desert which is in Dudael, cast him in there. Throw upon him hurled and pointed stones, covering him with darkness. There shall he remain forever. Cover his face, that he may not see the light. And in the great day of judgment, let him be cast into the fire. Okay, so here we have a record that Azazel, the angel Raphael, another one of the 5 great angels of the highest order, came down, grabbed him, and threw him into a cavern within the earth, threw heavy rocks and stones upon it, and said he's going to stay there until the time of the judgment. And we find in other texts where there's reference to him being in that desert. Even to this day, there were certain rituals performed and sent out to recognize and show that part of the story, because all these were pictures for later generations to understand what had happened. And all this was to be unlocked in this day and age so that we see what's brought us to now. Restore the earth which the angels have corrupted, announce life to it, that I may revive it. All the sons of men shall not perish in consequence of every secret by which the watchers have destroyed, in which they have taught their offspring. All the earth has been corrupted by the effects of the teaching of Azazel. To him, therefore, ascribe the whole crime. To Gabriel also the Lord said, Go to the bitters, to the reprobates, or to the biters, to the reprobates, to the children of fornication, and destroy the children of fornication, the offspring of the watchers from among men. Bring them forth, and excite them one against another. Let them perish by mutual slaughter, for the length of days shall not be theirs. And this shows a more accurate translation of the word biters being bastards or illegitimate children because they were not supposed to have been produced. The angels had left their state in order and come down to man's and created these children. I think at the end of this little chapter, I'm going to take a break, so let's continue on. They shall all entreat you, but their fathers shall not obtain their wishes respecting them. For they shall hope for eternal life, in that they may live, each of them, 500 years. Okay, so it's saying that their fathers who made them are hoping they have eternal life, but they won't, any of them have more than 500 years. To Michael likewise the Lord said, Go and announce his crimes to Samjaza, and to the others who are with him, who have been associated with women, that they might be polluted with all their impurity. And when all their sons shall be slain, when they shall see the perdition of their beloved, bind them for 70 generations under the earth, even to the day of judgment and of consummation, until the judgment, the effect of which will last forever be completed. And here's where some different prophetic people argue about whose generations, because if it's 70 of their generations, which is 500 years, well, do the math. That would be quite a while that they're going to be trapped there, and indicates we're going on for a little bit longer, maybe. Then shall they be taken away into the lowest depths of the fire and the torments, and in confinement shall they be shut up forever. Immediately after this shall he, together with them, burn and perish. They shall be bound until the consummation of many generations. Destroy all the souls addicted to dalliance, and the offspring of the watchers, for they have tyrannized over mankind. In this case, it's saying to the lust. Let every oppressor perish from the face of the earth. Let every evil work be destroyed. The plant of righteousness and the plant of righteousness and of rectitude appear, and its produce become a blessing. Righteousness and rectitude shall be forever planted with delight. And then shall all the saints give thanks, and live until they have begotten 1,000 children, while the whole period of their youth and their Sabbaths shall be completed in peace. In those days all the earth shall be cultivated in righteousness. It shall be wholly planted with trees, and filled with benediction. Every tree of delight shall be planted in it. In it shall be vines be planted. And the vine which shall be planted in it shall yield fruit to satiation or satiety. Every seed which shall be sown in it shall produce for 1 measure 1,000, and 1 measure of olives shall produce 10 presses of oil. Purify the earth from all oppression, from all injustice, from all crime, from all impiety, and from all the pollution which is committed upon it. Exterminate them from the earth. And I remember back when I did this study the first time, looking up that word pollution, and it's actually found in the New Testament scripture as well as those that are judged for polluting the earth, and it actually is the word for contaminating it with poison. Exterminate them from the earth. And I think I moved too far. Then shall all the children of men be righteous, and all the nations shall pay me divine honors, and bless me, and shall adore me. The earth shall be cleansed from all corruption, from every crime, from all punishment, and from all suffering. Neither will I again send a deluge upon it from generation to generation forever. In those days I will open the treasures of blessing which are in heaven, that I may cause them to descend upon the earth and upon all the works and labors of man. Peace and equity shall associate with the sons of men all the days of the world in every generation of it. Take a real quick drink. Thank everybody who's been listening and hanging in there. Switch over here and see who's come in. I know I try to read on. Average girl, good to see you today. Madhead Waterfield, thanks for joining us. And I'll answer your question real quick. Actually, no, don't use DMT. Had an experience with it in my younger years and saw all I needed to see and know. And it's not one I care to repeat. Um, what I do is I read through ancient texts, um, starting somewhere in the neighborhood of about 94, 96. I would read scriptures to my children weekly, and somewhere around 2000, 2001, that gravitated toward the Saturday, or what we term as a Sabbath or rest day. Um, we started reading through Scripture, and as we read through Scripture, we began to realize the religious systems we were living under were just that, something to keep us under control mentally, to keep us in fear, which is not a state that even their own teachings claimed. Um, we were supposed to find peace and all these things, and we weren't finding it within the religious system. We began to read many other texts that have been translated from different historical libraries. We began to see that there was this story that repeats throughout history of some type of golden age to cataclysm. Um, that in each one of these periods, the Creator is spoken of, a Christ is spoken of. I want to kind of bring these things to the forefront. Where we've come to in this day and age is we argue over every word, every single word. We want to define it by our definition so that we can create our own box. And we haven't really broken from the religious systems, even though we've thrown away religion in our mindset. And I'm hoping that as we read through these and we have people who are of different thoughts and ideas, we're able to communicate these ideas back and forth and begin to understand more the underlying story that's in these texts as opposed to the interpretations the men who have captured these texts have given to them. So that's WTF it is. I'm reading from the book of Enoch today. As I read through, as I would express things to my kids that come to mind as I'm reading, I express them here. My two boys are older and off on their own. My daughter, who turns 21 tomorrow, lives with me here, but being 21, she has friends and family elsewhere that she wants to celebrate and participate with, and she catches up and listens to me on occasion. But she's listened to all these things be read to her. My youngest daughter, who is off with my wife, is unable to participate in these things, and due to conflict within our house over the last several years, didn't really get to participate as regularly as her brothers and sisters did. So I'm doing these readings so that she might be able to sometime in the future listen and also be involved in some of these things. Um, there are a lot of good, righteous ideas in many different texts. Um, Generally, what we consider religious texts steer toward morality. And I think that we've thrown away morality, we've thrown away the Creator, we've thrown away the Christ, we've thrown away all these things in our rebellion against being constrained by religion. And that's the reason why I have the title Throwing the Baby Out with the Bathwater. Um, we've done this in many different ways, not just within religion, but also within politics as well, because there's always been a ordered structure over society, because with so many different cogs, you have to have all those little pieces that fit and keep it running in proper order. With evil or unrighteous or very self-centered people in those positions of authority, that was my fly once again. Um, you have tyranny and slavery to all those that are underneath it. So, out of rebellion toward that unrighteousness being an authority over us, we've thrown away the idea that we need to have an authority structure where that's not the case. Um, those things do keep us in line as a society. Um, Continuing on down through here. Stick Belt, thanks for coming in, buddy. I'm doing good today, actually. I was visiting with friends last night and fell asleep in the middle of a conversation. That was very early. I woke up once in the middle of the night for my usual midnight meds. Fell back asleep. Woke up about 8 or so. Thought, cool, I'll get everything together, get ready for this live I'm gonna do today. And I took a dab, and I took one that was very comforting. And I took another nap all the way up till almost 10 o'clock. So I'm actually slept quite well and feel well. Don't have the huge black rings I normally have here. Um, I am starting to have more healing and more rest lately, which is increasing the ability for my body to recuperate. Cage 9876, thanks for coming in. And yes, the words in the scripture, and that's one of the things I will eventually read the Bible, but I think all of us have been beat up with the Bible for so long that we know how they misquote these things, that I'm going to read through other things and begin to point back and show why that particular set of canons has been captured and taken out of all the rest. SoFlo, thanks for coming in. SoFlo's my neighbor. Budget, my buddy there, thanks for coming in too. Denise, it's good that you're squeaky clean. Oh, I thank everybody for joining me today. I appreciate it. I like being able to share my time. It was starting to get a little depressing there for the first month or two after my wife left. These Saturdays, me ended up home alone. And being the first time alone, and shoot, probably 30 some odd, 40 some odd years. 30, well, there was a couple periods in my 20s. But yeah. We've rolled up to chapter 12. I'm watching to see if anybody has anything to say. I'm going to take another quick hit and probably smoke another one of these cancer sticks. That's so what. And by the way, I don't know if I said good morning to you, even though I read the fact that execrate is express great loathing for. And as I was reading, it Sounds like it is actually a curse as well. I do appreciate you coming in and listening and hanging. Taking a couple more hits here and then. Thank you, Denise. Yeah, Madhead brought up DMT. DMT is one of those very specific gates. It's very refined in its direction. Um, People who know me know that I had quite a few years of a shamanistic type journey with the different religions, with the different chemicals. Um, the first time I did DMT, I didn't do near what was necessary, and determined to make sure I corrected that the next time I did enough that I never had to do any ever again. Um, there are a number of specific trips that go along with DMT or specific entities you speak to during the DMT experience. Um, how to explain it? Uh, for me, that gateway and I guess the best way to say is not everything appears as it seems. Um, there's lies and liars everywhere you go. Ed, OGs, thanks for coming in. Get a big bong hit. I'm using a little toker today. Which, by the way, does fit into the bong when I want to use it that way. I guess the clearest way to say it is DMT has a specific message. It's like a recording on a tape. And once you've heard the whole message or seen the whole message, there's no reason to go back and see any of the other versions of the message because the message is written in more than one way so that more than one type of person can understand it. I guess that's the best way of putting it for those who are trying to seek it out. Um, it is a drug that you lose your conscious ability to cognate. Cognate. It's outside of your control if you do it at that level. Um, that is something that I learned is um, unless you're properly guided, that can be very disassociative. It can cause psychological issues as opposed to cure psychological issues. As with any type of hallucinogenic substance, um, suggestibility is there both in this realm as well as in the spiritual realm. And there was reasons why there was laws in place. Going back to what I'm reading right now, some of these experiences go into the area of those sorceries, those cutting of roots, those different things that were described as being given to us by those fallen angels. Now, I believe those things are here on earth for us to have a natural experience with, to put us back in touch with the fact that there is a creator, a divine essence, or a spiritual path. However, to just willy-nilly go out there and start to plunder down that path can be very dangerous to you physically as well as psychologically and spiritually. I say that from a very strong conviction due to the fact that I suffered physical repercussions from some of the spiritual experiences I had on those different substances. Um, I also spent a period of about 6 years disassociated from proper reality. Um, uh, I had a psychotic break in the early 90s, and while I came to somewhat of a semblance of sanity by the mid 90s, my children had been born, and I had continued through Christian or church counseling, got rid of a lot of those other psychological baggage I had carried along. Um, let's see. Modelo's 2, Baby Doll, Cheers. What's the one they do in Peru? That's ayahuasca. Ayahuasca. That if there's ever a chemical upon this earth that proves that something was put together and told to us from some other place, ayahuasca is it, because it would have taken thousands, if not millions, of generations of trying combinations to create that purposely and fail at it to make it happen. It is such a strange combination. It also has a very specific set of paths and very specific set of uh, stories it tells. Um, yeah, man, Green, I'm sure you would think DMT is cool. And I know you've got enough common sense to examine those routes properly. And I'm not sure what the next one said. Oh, okay. I have saturated. Oh, okay. I got you. Ah, thank you. Yep, Volunteer threw it up in there. Yep, it's got parts made from the vine of one plant and from the roots of another tree. Um, the uh, the formula for ayahuasca has been released. There are people who do sell it across the dark net and the black market. Ayahuasca is one that's like DMT. Anybody who's done it will tell you don't do it alone. Don't do it without a shaman. And the reason is because of the nature of the gates it opens. Um, there is dark forces that have to be specifically negated. Um, I've discussed spiritual authorities before in some of my previous things. When you cross certain gates or certain ladders or certain steps, you have to go through what is described to us in the Egyptian Book of the Dead and some other texts as gatekeepers. Um, if you approach them and you don't approach them properly or go through them properly, they have the authority to do things to you. And it can be very detrimental to your mind and body. That's what I'm talking about. Um, the every one of these has the chance of you becoming disassociated enough that you choose not to return. Um, you can end up stuck in varying forms of insanity in those cases. Um, I had a friend, his name was Andy, and we were having an acid eating contest, and I didn't know that he was in a bad frame, and we were up to about 20 hits, and he said, F it, and he took the rest of his half of his sheet, lacking the 5 he had sold, and ate them all at once. He ate 45 hits. Uh, Andy disappeared about 2 hours into the trip, and we didn't see him for about a month or so. But when he came back, he carried the name Crazy Andy with him, and he carried that for the rest of his life. Uh, he was disassociated to the point where he had basically a 2 or 3 minute attention span at the most. He would see and hear things continually that were not on this side of the veil. Um, anyways, that's one of those burdens I carry on my back that I, and I know you never make up for it, I have repented of it. I would no longer repeat and haven't ever sold LSD in any form or quantity ever again. That was one of the cases that straightened that up in my life. Um, and it's one of the reasons why I try to bless and not curse, because that became a curse to him at that time. Um, I have prayed that at some point in time he became sane again. I do not know. I lost track of him. Oh my. That was 92, 91. So it's been a long time. J&K Triple, thanks for joining us this morning. I'm reading from Enoch. I'm taking a little break here. Kind of talking a little bit. We got into some of these different chemicals that help us to cross the borders. Um, there are many warnings saying don't do those things. I don't think we have to do them to live a right and spiritual life. I believe that there are those who have a certain genetic, because I believe it is passed down, makeup that makes it that we question those things and seek to look into that realm at a much higher intensity than most. And I understand that. We find in Scripture Daniel was taught in the way of the mages. We find that Joseph had a cup of divination. We find that this reoccurs throughout many different places, but along with it comes the warnings that it is an opening for other forces to affect us, to cause us trouble. And it's something that if you've had enough trouble in your life, you learn to avoid it and have it try to not follow you. I've made it up to chapter 12 here, and we've had everything proclaimed out, and he says, before all these things, Enoch was concealed, nor did any one of the sons of men know where he was concealed, where he had been, and what had happened. He was wholly engaged with the holy ones and with the watchers in his days. Enoch was blessing the great Lord and King of peace. And behold, the watchers called me Enoch the scribe. Then the Lord said to me, Enoch, scribe of righteousness, go tell the watchers of heaven, who have deserted the lofty sky and their holy everlasting station, who have been polluted with women, and have done as the sons of men do by taking themselves wives, and who have been greatly corrupted upon the earth, that on the earth they shall never obtain peace and remission of sin, for they shall not rejoice in their offspring. They shall behold the slaughter of their beloved, shall lament for their destruction for their sons, and shall petition forever, and shall not obtain mercy and peace. And I'm going to point out real quick here that there's many who believe that ghosts or demons. I believe there are different shades to those words, but there's many. Maybe I should wait till I get to the part in the reading for this. But many believe that the demons are those children that are doomed to walk this earth without ever having peace, um, and their fallen angel fathers have to watch this are now mad at mankind because we are redeemable and they are not. Then Enoch, passing on, said to Azazel, "You shall not obtain peace. A great sentence has gone forth against you. He shall bind you. Neither shall relief and mercy and supplication be yours, on account of the oppression which you have taught, and on account of every act of blasphemy, tyranny, and sin which you have discovered to the children of men." Then, departing from him, I spoke to them all together, and they all became terrified and trembled, beseeching me to write for them a memorial of supplication, that they may obtain forgiveness, and that I might make the memorial of their prayer ascend up before the God of heaven, because they could not themselves thenceforth address him, nor raise up their eyes to heaven on account of the disgraceful offense for which they were judged. And there's actually a spiritual truth in this about the fact that if we commit so much sin against the Creator, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier, how do you ask that mercy from that one? Um, then I wrote a memorial of their prayer and supplication for their spirits, for everything which they had done, and for the subject of their entreaty, that they might attain remission and rest. Proceeding on, I continued over the waters of Dunbadan, which is on the right to the west of Armon, reading the memorial of their prayer until I fell asleep. And behold, a dream came to me, and visions appeared above me. I fell down and saw a vision of punishment, that I might relate it to the sons of heaven and reprove them. When I awoke, I went to them. All being collected together, stood weeping in Abelasiel, which is situated between Libanos and Sinsar, with their faces veiled, and that is between Lebanon and Sinir, or near Damascus. Related in their presence all the visions which I had seen in my dream, and began to utter the words of righteousness, reproving the watchers of heaven. This is the book of the word of righteousness, and of the reproof of the watchers who belong to the world, according to that which he who is holy and great commanded in the vision. I perceived in my dream that which is now speaking with a tongue of flesh, and with breath, and with my breath, which the mighty one has put into the mouth of men, that they might converse with it, and understand with the heart, as he has created and given to men the power of comprehending the word of understanding, so has he created and given to me the power of reproving the watchers, the offspring of heaven. I have written your petition, and in my vision it has been shown to me that what you request will not be granted you as long as the world endures. Judgment has been passed upon you. Your request will not be granted to you. Oh, that explains why they want to destroy the world. Huh. That explains why they're teaching man to create a CERN and hopefully a black hole by which to consume everything, because they're finally released from it if this world no longer exists. From this time forward, never shall you ascend into heaven, he said, that on earth he will bind you as long as the world endures. And that's one thing I want people to notice here, that I don't believe this UFO phenomenon, the ones that are in control of this earth, are actually coming from outside of our system or our own existence, because it says here that they're locked in it. But before these things you shall behold the destruction of your beloved sons. You shall not possess them, but they shall fall before you by the sword. Neither shall you entreat for them, not for yourselves, but you shall weep and supplicate in silence the words of the book which I wrote. A vision thus appeared to me. Behold, in that vision, clouds and a mist invited me. Agitated stars and flashes of lightning impelled and pressed me forward, while winds in the vision assisted my flight, accelerating my progress. They elevated me aloft to heaven. I proceeded until I arrived at a wall built with stones of crystal. A vibrating flame surrounded it, which began to strike me with terror. Into this tongue of flame, is what it says, I entered, and drew nigh to a spacious habitation, built also with stones of crystals. Its walls, too, as well as pavement, were formed with stones of crystal, and crystal likewise was the ground. Its roof had an appearance of agitated stars and flashes of lightning, and among them were cherubim of fire in a stormy sky. A flame burned around its walls, and its portal blazed with fire. When I entered into this dwelling, it was hot as fire and cold as ice. No trace of delight or of life was there. Terror overwhelmed me, and a fearful shaking seized me. Violently agitated and trembling, I fell upon my face. In the vision I looked, and behold, there was another habitation, more spacious than the former, every entrance to which was open before me, erected in the midst of a vibrating flame, or a tongue of fire. So greatly did it excel in all points, in glory, in magnificence, and in magnitude, that it is impossible to describe to you either the splendor or to the extent of it. Its floor was on fire, above were lightnings and agitated stars, while the roof exhibited a blazing fire. Attentively I surveyed it, and saw that it contained an exalted throne, the appearance of which was like that of frost, while its circumference resembled the orb of the brilliant sun, and there was the voice of cherubim. From underneath this mighty throne rivers of flaming fire issued. To look upon it was impossible. One great in glory sat upon it, whose robe was brighter than the sun and whiter than snow. No angel was capable of penetrating to view the face of him, the glorious and the effulgent, nor could any mortal behold him. A fire was flaming around him. A fire also of great extent continued to rise up before him, so that not one of those who surrounded him was capable of approaching him. Among the myriads of myriads who were before him, to him the holy consultation was needless. Yet did not the sanctified who were near him depart far from him, neither by night or day, nor were they removed from him. I also was so far advanced, with a veil on my face and trembling. Then the Lord with his own mouth called me, saying, Approach hither, Enoch, at my holy word. And he raised me up, making me draw near, even to the entrance. My eye was directed to the ground. And something I remember we looked into before is the fact that we have the description here of two different heavens, one which is devoid of the presence of the Creator, and the other one which isn't. Take a quick drink here. I remember when I had my schism attack, and it's funny that as I was reading this what came back to me. That part of that was the description. It was too hot, it was too cold, I couldn't be inside, I couldn't be outside. I mean, it was just crazy how everything came apart as a similar description to that particular temple. There's no trace of life within it. Then addressing me, he spoke and said, Hear, neither be afraid, O righteous Enoch, you scribe of righteousness, approach hither, and hear my voice. Go say to the watchers of heaven, who have sent you to pray for them, you ought to pray for men, and not men for you. Wherefore have you forsaken the lofty and holy heaven, which endures forever, and have lain with women, have defiled yourselves with the daughter of men,
have taken to yourselves wives, have acted like the sons of the earth, and have begotten impious offspring. And it says there the words literally transfer giant, literally yeah, I'll get it out in a second. Translates giants. You, being spiritual, holy, and possessing a life which is eternal, have polluted yourselves with women, have begotten in carnal blood, have lusted in the blood of men, and have done as those who are flesh and blood do. These, however, die and perish. Therefore have I given to them wives, that they might cohabit with them, that sons might be born of them, that this might be transacted upon earth. So he's saying you live forever, you have no reason to have to have children, but man does. But you from the beginning were made spiritual, possessing a life which is eternal, and not subject to death forever. Therefore I made not wives for you, because being spiritual, your dwelling is in heaven. Now the giants who have been born of spirit and of flesh shall be called upon earth evil spirits, and on earth shall be their habitation. Evil spirits shall proceed from their flesh, because they were created from above. From the holy watchers was their beginning and primary foundation. Evil spirits shall they be upon the earth, and the spirits of the wicked shall they be called. The habitation of the spirits of heaven shall be in heaven, but upon earth shall be the habitation of terrestrial spirits who are born on earth. And that is my description of the spiritual being, ghosts, demons, that kind of thing. They were not made to be born of this earth, but they are stuck here now, even though they are supposed to be in the heavens. Um, I know a lot of Christians say I'm going to die and go to heaven, and there is a certain part of the truth to that, but the whole of the Bible says that man was created from the earth to tend the earth, to own the earth, as far as to be its caretaker. Um, so there's kind of a disconnect there. They've kind of robbed from us what our true inheritance is supposed to be. And in the meantime, they spend all their money and wealth trying to take up and rob the earth from everybody, making it so that we can pay them a tax every year to live on one particular piece of land, etc., etc. The spirits of the giants shall be like clouds, which shall oppress, corrupt, fall, content, and bruise upon the earth. It says that the Greek word for clouds here is nephalis, or may disguise a more ancient reading of Nephilim. They shall cause lamentation. No food shall they eat, and they shall be thirsty. They shall be concealed, and shall not rise up against the sons of men and against women. For they come forth during the days of slaughter and destruction. And that is the reason why I believe they're all brought forth during that final battle. And as to the death of the giants, wheresoever their spirits depart from their bodies, let their flesh, that which is perishable, be without judgment. Thus shall they perish until the day of a great consummation of the great world. A destruction shall take place of the watchers and the impious. And now to the watchers who have sent you to pray for them, who in the beginning were in heaven. Say, in heaven have you been. Secret things, however, have not been manifested to you. Yet have you known a reprobated mystery. In this you have related to women in the hardness of your heart. And by that mystery have women and mankind multiplied evils upon the earth. Say to them, never therefore shall you obtain peace. They raised me up into a certain place, where there was the appearance of a burning fire. And when they pleased, they assumed the likeness of men. They carried me to a lofty spot, to a mountain, the top of which reached to heaven. And I beheld the receptacles of light and of thunder at the extremities of the place, where it was deepest. There was a bow of fire, and arrows in their quiver, a sword of fire, and every species of lightning. And they elevated me to a babbling stream, and to a fire in the west, which received all the setting of the sun. I came to a river of fire, which flowed like water, and emptied itself into a great sea westwards. I saw every large river, until I arrived at the great darkness. I went to where all of flesh migrate, and I beheld the mountain of the gloom, which constitutes winter, and the place from which issues the water in every abyss. I saw also the mouths of all the rivers in the worlds, and the mouths of the deep. There's some people who believe that's an actual physical place upon this earth, which is a very interesting study in and of itself. They surveyed the receptacles of all the winds, perceiving that they contributed to adorn the whole creation, and to preserve the foundation of the earth. I surveyed the stone which supports the corners of the earth. I also beheld the four winds which bear up the earth, and the firmament of heaven. And I beheld the winds occupying the exalted sky, rising in the midst of heaven and of earth, and constituting the pillars of heaven. I saw the winds which turn the sky, which cause the orb of the sun, and of all the stars to set. And over the earth I saw the winds which support the clouds. I saw the path of the angels. I perceived the extremity of the earth, the firmament of heaven above it. Then I passed on towards the south. And that's the reason why I don't believe the firmament is right above our heads, because in this description, all of the sun and everything is within that firmament. And I know some believe in a little small sun up here above us, but I we have enough pictures to show that it's not real close. There is something out there that surrounds all of this. Where it is, one day we may run into it. I perceived at the extremity of the earth the firmament of heaven above it. Then I passed on towards the south, where burnt, both by day and night, 6 mountains formed of glorious stones, 3 towards the east and 3 towards the south. Those which were towards the east were of a variegated stone, one of which was of margarite, and another of antimony. Those towards the south were of a red stone. The middle one which reached to the heaven like the throne of God, a throne composed of alabaster, the top of which was a sapphire. I saw too a blazing fire hanging over all the mountains. And there's some believe that this is a description of a mountain range in Antarctica. And there I saw a place on the other side of an extended territory where the waters were collected. Likewise beheld terrestrial fountains deep in the fiery columns of heaven. And in the columns of heaven I beheld fires, which descended without number, but neither on high nor into the deep. Over these fountains also I perceived a place which had neither a firmament of heaven above it, nor the solid ground underneath it. Neither was there water above it, nor anything on wing, but the spot was desolate. And there I beheld 7 stars, like great blazing mountains, and like spirits entreating me. Then the angel said, This place, until the consummation of heaven and earth, will be the prison of the stars, the host of the heaven. The stars which roll over fire are those which transgressed the commandment of God before their time arrived, for they came not in their proper season. Therefore he was offended with them, and bound them until the period of the consummation of their crimes in the secret year. So here we have a recording of angels that were already bound at the time of Enoch. And I think we could probably find these angels in some of the older texts that came pre 250,000 years ago. It's one of the things I'm examining and trying to find those links. Then Uriel said, "Here the angels who cohabitated with women appointed their leaders. In being numerous in appearance, made men profane, and caused them to err, so that they sacrifice to devils as to gods. For in the great day there shall be a judgment, with which they shall be judged, until they are consumed. And their wives also shall be judged, who led astray the angels of heaven, that they might salute them." And that's where we have an indication that man was part of that fall. "And I, Enoch, I alone saw the likeness of the end of all things, nor did any human being see it as I saw it." And so that's where he records that he's now seen the whole picture. I've got a neighbor over here, I'm not sure which one. But yeah, these this fall of the 200, they were locked away in the chasm. The chasm is somewhere in space, a place void of stars. And I think it's interesting if you look into this new thing that there is actually a place in space void of stars. Something that they've released recently through their telescopic views. I find that we have that Azazel was locked up inside the earth. From the tablets of Enki, they seem to have been locked away in some kind of stasis chamber somewhere. So we have all different kinds of descriptions of extending of their life. And to places of judgment and places of waiting for judgment. These are the names of the angels who watch. Uriel, one of the holy angels, who presides over clamor and terror. Raphael, one of the holy angels, who presides over the spirits of men. Raguel, one of the holy angels, who inflicts punishment on the world and the luminaries. Michael, one of the holy angels, who presiding over human virtue commands the nations. Serachiel, one of the holy angels, who presides over the spirits of the children of men that transgress. Gabriel, one of the holy angels, who presides over Ikisat, over paradise, and over the cherubim. It says Ikisat are the serpents. Then I made a circuit to a place in which nothing was completed. And there I beheld neither the tremendous workmanship of an exalted heaven, nor of an established earth, but a desolate spot, prepared and terrific. There too I beheld 7 stars of heaven bound in it together, like great mountains, and like a blazing fire. I exclaimed, "For what species of crime have they been bound, and why have they been removed to this place?" Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, and who conducted me, answered, "Enoch, wherefore do you ask? Wherefore do you reason with yourself, and anxiously inquire? These are those of the stars which have transgressed the commandments of the Most High God, and are here bound until the infinite number of the days of their crimes be completed." From there I afterwards passed on to another terrific place, where I beheld the operation of a great fire blazing and glittering, in the midst of which there was a division. Columns of fire struggled together to the ends of the abyss, and deep was their descent. But neither its measurement nor magnitude was I able to discover, neither could I perceive its origin. Then I exclaimed, "How terrible is this place, and how difficult to explore!" Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said, Enoch, why are you alarmed and amazed at this terrific place, at the sight of this place of suffering? This, he said, is the prison of the angels, and here they are kept forever. And I know a lot of preachers like to say hell's for man, but even in the Bible it records that the hell was for those spiritual beings that saw and knew everything truthfully from the beginning and yet chose to rebel or to not fulfill their place in the order. From there I proceeded to another spot where I saw on the west a great and lofty mountain, a strong rock, and four delightful places. Internally it was deep, capacious, and very smooth, as if it had been rolled over. It was both deep and dark to behold. Then Raphael, one of the holy angels who were with me, answered and said, These are the delightful place where the spirits, the souls of the dead, will be collected. For them were they formed, and here will be collected all the souls of the sons of men. These places in which they dwell shall they occupy until the day of judgment, and until their appointed period. Their appointed period will be long, even until the great judgment. And I saw the spirit of the sons of men who were dead, and their voices reached to heaven while they were accusing. Then I inquired of Raphael, an angel who was with me, and said, Whose spirit is that, a voice of which reaches to heaven and accuses? He answered, saying, This is the spirit of Abel, who was slain by Cain his brother, and who will accuse that brother until his seed be destroyed from the face of the earth, until his seed perish from the seed of the human race. At that time, therefore, I inquired respecting him, and respecting the general judgment, saying, Why is one separated from another? He answered, 3 separations have been made between the spirits of the dead, and thus have the spirits of the righteous been separated, namely by a chasm, by water, and by light above it. And in the same way likewise are sinners separated when they die, and are buried in the earth, judgment not overtaking them in their lifetime. Here their souls are separated. Moreover, abundant is their suffering until the time of the great judgment, the castigation, and the torment of those who eternally execrate, whose souls are punished and bound there forever. And thus has it been from the beginning of the world. Thus has there existed a separation between the souls of those who utter complaints and of those who watch for their destruction, to slaughter them in the day of sinners. Receptacle of this sort has been formed for the souls of unrighteous men and of sinners, and of those who have completed crime, and associated with the impious, whom they resemble. Their souls shall not be annihilated in the day of judgment, neither shall they arise from this place. Then I blessed God, and said, Blessed be my Lord, the Lord and glory of the righteous, who reigns over all forever and forever. Probably not the time to get into it, but there's some very serious debatable theology that can come from that. From there I went to another place toward the west, unto the extremities of the earth, where I beheld a fire blazing and running along without cessation, which intermitted its course neither by day nor by night, but continued always the same. I inquired, saying, What is this which never ceases? Then Raguel, one of the holy angels who were with me, answered, and said, This blazing fire, which you behold running toward the west, is that of all the luminaries of the heavens. Interesting. I wonder if that's talking about everything spinning in the luminaries. I went from there to another place and saw a mountain of fire flashing both by day and night. I proceeded toward it and perceived 7 splendid mountains, which were all different from each other. Their stones were brilliant and beautiful. All were brilliant and splendid to behold, and beautiful was their surface. 3 mountains were toward the east, and straightened by being placed one upon another, and 3 were towards the south, strengthened in a similar manner. Okay, I said that wrong. They were strengthened by being placed one upon another. There were likewise deep valleys, which did not approach each other. And the 7th mountain was in the midst of them. In the length they all resembled the seat of a throne, and odoriferous trees surrounded them. Among these there was a tree of an unceasing smell, nor of those which were in Eden was there one of all the fragrant trees which smelt like this. Its leaf, its flower, and its bark never withered, and its fruit was beautiful. Its fruit resembled the cluster of the palm. I exclaimed, Behold, this tree is godly in aspect, pleasing in its leaf, and the sight of its fruit is delightful to the eye. Then Michael, one of the holy and glorious angels who were with me, and one who presided over them, answered and said, Enoch, why do you inquire respecting the odor of this tree? Why are you inquisitive to know it? Then I, Enoch, replied to him and said, Concerning everything I am desirous of instruction, but particularly concerning this tree. He answered me, saying, The mountain which you behold, the extent of which head resembles the seat of the Lord, will be the seat on which shall sit the holy and great Lord of glory, the everlasting King, when he shall come and descend to visit the earth with goodness. And that tree of an agreeable smell, not one of carnal odor, there shall be no power to touch until the period of the great judgment, when all shall be punished and consumed forever. This shall be bestowed on the righteous and humble. The fruit of the tree shall be given to the elect. For towards the north life shall be planted in the holy place, toward the habitation of the everlasting King. Then shall they greatly rejoice and exalt the Holy One. The sweet odor shall enter into their bones, and they shall live a long life on the earth, as your forefathers have lived. Neither in their days shall sorrow, distress, trouble, and punishment afflict them. And I bless the Lord of glory, the everlasting King, because he has prepared this tree for the saints, formed it, and declared that he would give it to them. From there I proceeded to the middle of the earth, and beheld a happy and fertile spot, which contained branches continually sprouting from the trees which were planted in it. There I saw a holy mountain, and underneath it water on the eastern side, which flowed towards the south. I saw also on the east another mountain, as high as that, and between them were deep but not wide valleys. Water ran towards the mountain to the west of this, and underneath there was likewise another mountain. There was a valley, but not a wide one, below it, and in the midst of them were other deep and dry valleys toward the extremities of the 3. All these valleys, which were deep but not side, consisted of a strong rock, which a tree which was planted in them. And I wondered at the rock and at the valleys, being extremely surprised. Some of these descriptions can get a little lost in them. Then I said, What means this blessed land, all these lofty trees, and the accursed valley between them? Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who were with me, replied, This valley is the accursed of the accursed forever. Here shall be collected all who utter with their mouths unbecoming language against God, and speak harsh things of his glory. Here shall they be collected, here shall there be their territory. In the latter days an example of judgment shall be made of them in righteousness before the saints, while those who have received mercy shall forever all their days bless God the everlasting King. And at that period of judgment shall they bless him for his mercy, as he has distributed to them. Then I blessed God, addressing myself to him, and making mention, as was meet, of his greatness. And if you read in the Revelations, many feel that this is the Armageddon, and the reference here to them being there forever is that when he slaughters them, they're done. They no longer exist from that judgment. From there, I proceeded toward the east to the middle of the mountain in the desert, the level of surface only of which I perceived. It was full of trees and of seed alluded to, and water leaked down upon it. There appeared a cataract composed as of many cataracts, both toward the west and towards the east. Upon one side were trees, and upon other water and dew. Then I went to another place from the desert, towards the east of that mountain which I had approached. There I beheld choice trees, particularly those which produce the sweet-smelling opiate, frankincense, myrrh, and trees unlike each other. And over and above them was the elevation of the eastern mountain, in no great distance. And these actually are the same trees that were referred to being part of the oils that were for anointing. I likewise saw another place with valleys of water which never wasted, where I perceived a goodly tree, which in smell resembled zaskinon, or the mastic tree. And towards the sides of these valleys I perceived cinnamon of a sweet odor. Over them I advanced toward the east. Then I beheld another mountain containing trees from which water flowed like nectar. Its name was Sarirar and Kalbonaba. And upon this mountain I beheld another mountain, which were the tree of Alva, Styrax and Galbanum, and Alva's aloe. These trees were full, like almond trees, and strong, and when they produced fruit, it was superior to all redolents. After these things, surveying the entrance of the north, above the mountains, I perceived 7 mountains replete with pure nard, odoriferous trees, cinnamon, and papyrus. From there I passed on above the summits of the mountains to some distance eastward, and went over the Etruscan Sea, the Erythraean Sea. And when I was advanced far beyond it, I passed along above the angel Zatiel, and arrived at the garden of righteousness. In this garden I beheld, among other trees, some which were numerous and large, and which flourished there. Their fragrance was agreeable and powerful, and their appearance both varied and elegant. The tree of knowledge also was there, of which, if anyone eats, he becomes endowed with great wisdom. It was like a species of the tamarind tree, bearing fruit which resembled grapes, extremely fine, and its fragrance extended to a considerable distance. I exclaimed, "How beautiful is this tree, and how delightful is its appearance!" Then holy Raphael, an angel who was with me, answered and said, "This is the tree of knowledge, of which your ancient father and your ancient aged mother ate, who were before you, and who, obtaining knowledge, their eyes being opened, and knowing themselves to be naked, were expelled from the garden." From there I went towards the extremities of the earth, where I saw large beasts different from each other, and birds various in their countenances and forms, as well as with notes of different sounds. To the east of these beasts I perceived the extremities of the earth, where heaven ceased. The gates of heaven stood open, and I beheld the celestial stars come forth. I numbered them as I proceeded out of the gate, and wrote them all down. As they came out one by one according to their number, I wrote down their names altogether, their times and their seasons. As the angel Uriel, who was with me, pointed them out to me, he showed them all to me, and wrote down an account of them. He also wrote down for me their names, their regulations, and their operations. So there we have record of him being given what all the different stars meant. From there I advanced on towards the north to the extremities of the earth, and there I saw a great and glorious wonder at the extremities of the whole earth. I saw their heavenly gates opening into heaven, three of them distinctly separated. The northern winds proceeded from them, blowing cold hail, frost, snow, dew, and rain. From one of the gates they blew mildly, but when they blew from the two other gates, it was with violence and force. They blew over the earth strongly. From there I went to the extremities of the world westwards, where I perceived three gates open, and as I had seen in the north, the gates and passages through them being of equal magnitude. Then I proceeded to the extremities of the earth southwards, where I saw three gates open to the south, from which issue dew, rain, and wind. From there I went to the extremities of heaven eastwards, where I saw three heavenly gates open to the east, which had smaller gates within them. Through each of these small gates the stars of heaven passed on, and proceeded toward the west by a path which was seen by them in that every period of their appearance. When I beheld them I blessed, every time in which they appeared. I blessed the Lord of glory, who had made those great and splendid signs, that they may display the magnificence of this works to the angels and to the souls of men, that these might glorify all his works and operations, might see the effect of his power, might glorify the great labor of his hands, and bless him forever. Then we have chapter 36 is missing. And I didn't fill my cup up very good today. That was a mistake. Wrong pipe. Sorry for that. The vision which he saw, the second vision of wisdom, which Enoch saw, the son of Jared, the son of Malil, the son of Canaan, the son of Enos, the son of Seth, the son of Adam. This is the commencement of the word of wisdom, which I received to declare and to tell to those who dwell upon the earth. Hear from the beginning, and understand to the end the holy things which I utter in the presence of the Lord of spirits. Those who were before us thought it good to speak. And let not us who come after obstruct the beginning of wisdom. Until the present period never has there been given before the Lord of spirits that which I have received, wisdom according to the capacity of my intellect, and according to the pleasure of the Lord of spirits, that which I received from him, a portion of eternal life, of life eternal. And I obtained three parables, which I declare to the inhabitants of the world. Parable the first. When the congregation of the righteous shall be manifested, and sinners be judged for their crimes, and be troubled in the sight of the world. When righteousness shall be manifested, in the presence of the righteous themselves, who will be elected for their good works, duly weighed by the Lord of spirits. And when the light of the righteous and the elect who dwell on earth shall be manifested, where will the habitation of sinners be? And where the place of rest for those who have rejoiced, or we read that, and where the place of rest for those who have rejected the Lord of spirits? It would have been better for them had they never been born. When too the secrets of the righteous shall be revealed, then shall sinners be judged, and impious men shall be afflicted in the presence of the righteous and the elect. From that period those who possess the earth shall cease to be powerful and exalted, neither shall they be capable of beholding the countenance of the holy. For the light of the countenance of the holy, the righteous, and the elect has been seen by the Lord of spirits. Yet shall not the mighty kings of that period be destroyed, but be delivered into the hands of the righteous and the holy. Nor thenceforth shall any obtain commiseration from the Lord of spirits, because their lives in this world will have been completed. We're getting into chapter 39. I think I'm going to take a little quick smoke break here and pop back over to chat. Looks like most everybody's been just listening. Thank you very much. Balls for Life, thanks for joining me, buddy. Good to see you today. Ball for Life, I should say. I'm 420. Have a little quick break here. Says we got 4 people still listening. Appreciate it. Hope everybody's having a blessed morning so far. Had a request this week that I do a nature walks again. And I went out last week and was going to do a nature walk, and I took a fishing pole with me. And I never got anything videotaped. I did find out that I'm out of practice fly fishing. I can get out to about 30 feet pretty clean, but all my hits at the 40-foot mark, I screw up on my back whip. So, got some practicing to do, but won't be doing that on camera. But the park's been pretty clean lately. Been a lot of really strong tides washing in dirt. Not a lot of interesting trash. I haven't found a single whole horseshoe in weeks. They've all been little pieces coming in. Piece here and piece there. I did have a interesting visit last week while I was out there fishing. There was a gentleman who was on a paddleboard race who had stopped in there. And he was doing 100 and some odd miles on a paddleboard and was cramping up, even though he was one of the leaders. Was afraid his race was over. But it's always fun to meet new people out and about. I had my camera out and was getting ready to do some recording when I ran into him. We started talking, and one thing led to the next, and he was recuperating and I was fishing. This description Enoch's giving, many people have tried to interpret it. Thanks, Ball for Life. Appreciate that. I guess it's time to start sharing experiences for others. I enjoyed sharing them to my kids for years. Both the fun ones and scary ones. Help sober them up in their life. But anyways, oh, my brain short-circuited for half a second. Many people have tried to take the different descriptions that are given in these texts and match them up to different areas of the earth or different ancient sites on the earth. And some have even equated some of the different descriptions given in Enoch as being possible at the different calendar sites. Some of those calendar sites just being standing stones, some being rings. Of course, one of the current correlations with the mountains of the south and the whole where the angels are trapped and all that, many feel that might be the Antarctic region because of some of the descriptions given. Of course, our modern conspiracy community is going to head right away to our elites have been looking for them for years, and we have in this writing that they are trapped here somehow, some way, somewhere. They are trapped on this earth in a place. So maybe it's true they are looking for them. Maybe they have found contact with some of them. We know that in the last days, as this battle progresses, more of them are kicked out of the heaven range to the earth, and it says some come up from inside the earth. So I did find it interesting that in the reading earlier that it says that they are judged until everything is gone, the earth and the heavens and all that, until it falls apart or is destroyed. And that being the goal of both the dark magicians at the time of Atlantis and that time of judgment, and quite possibly with our dark scientists and some of the things that they want to accomplish. Budget, thanks for coming back in, buddy. Taking a little break here between chapters, talking a little bit about what I was reading. But the interesting thing is that this text starts off with saying that this is written down to show us who are going through this final battle what it all stems from, originates from, where it started. And it brings us back to some of these same stories of rebellion by spiritual beings and their descent into this plane. They're being stuck and judged, remaining in this plane until the time of judgment. Um, Trying to think of how to. Something that's been brought up recently, it's talked about a lot, is the firmament. And the firmament is referred to it here as well. Um, we know that somewhere there is some type of barrier, that being a firmament, some type of solid place. I believe that any of us can take pieces of scriptures here and there and place that firmament wherever we want to. I think our clue is to look and to see what's happening as far as those things that are popping in and out of this dimension, so to speak. What people are seeing more of daily. All these are clues because it says this is going to happen more and more. All these were painted on caves in earlier catastrophes. The same signs in the sky, the same signs in the stars. It's a pattern that's repeating. It's a circular pattern that we're going through. I tell you, FSC cigarettes, worst invention ever. And you had a smart one because there were a lot of idiots burning their beds down. Yin and yang of everything. We're heading into chapter 39. In those days shall the elect and holy race descend upon the upper heavens, and their seed shall be with the sons of men. Enoch received books of indignation and wrath, and books of hurry and agitation. Never shall they obtain mercy, saith the Lord of spirits. A cloud then snatched me up, and the wind raised me above the surface of the earth, placing me at the extremity of the heavens. There I saw another vision. I saw the habitation and resting place of the saints. There my eyes beheld the habitation with the angels, and their resting places with the holy ones. They were entreating, supplicating, and praying for the sons of men, while righteousness like water flowed before them, and mercy like dew was scattered over the earth. And thus shall it be with them forever and forever. that time my eyes beheld the dwelling of the elect, of truth, faith, and righteousness. Sorry. My stomach's not liking that last swallow of water I took for some reason. Countless shall be the number of the holy and the elect in the presence of God forever and forever. Their residence I beheld under the wings of the Lord of spirits. All the holy and the elect sung before him, in appearance like a blaze of fire, their mouths being full of blessings, and their lips glorifying the name of the Lord of spirits, and righteousness incessantly dwelt before him. There was I desirous of remaining, and my soul longed for that habitation. There was my antecedent inheritance, for thus had I prevailed before the Lord of spirits. At that time I glorified and extolled the name of the Lord of spirits with blessing and with praise, for he has established it with blessing and with praise according to his own good pleasure. That place long did my eyes contemplate. I blessed and said, Blessed be he, blessed from the beginning forever. In the beginning, before the world was created, and without end is his knowledge. What is this world? Of every existing generation, those shall bless you who do not spiritually sleep, but stand before your glory. Blessings, glorifying, exalting you, and saying, The holy, holy Lord of spirits fills the whole world of spirits. There my eyes beheld all who, without sleeping, stand before him and bless him, saying, Blessed be you, and blessed be the name of the God forever and forever. Then my countenance became changed until I was incapable of seeing. So this spiritual vision physically changed his body till he was blind. After this I beheld thousands of thousands and myriads of myriads, and an infinite number of people standing before the Lord of spirits. On the four wings likewise the Lord of spirits. On the four sides I perceived others, besides those who were standing before him. Their names too I know, because the angel who preceded me with me declared them to me, discovering to me every secret thing. Then I heard the voice of those upon the four sides magnifying the Lord of glory. The first voice blessed the Lord of spirits forever and forever. The second voice I heard blessing the elect one, the elect who suffer on account of the Lord of spirits. The third voice I heard petitioning and praying for those who dwell upon the earth, and supplicate the name of the Lord of spirits. The fourth voice I heard expelling the impious angels and prohibiting them from entering into the presence of the Lord of spirits, to prefer accusations against the inhabitants of the earth. So here it's saying that there's an angel that keeps kicking the ones that are coming to accuse us, or accuse the righteous. After this I besought the angel of peace, who proceeded with me, to explain all that was concealed. I said to him, Who are those whom I have seen on the four sides, and whose words I have heard and written down? He replied, The first is the merciful, the patient, the holy Michael. The second is he who presides over every suffering and every affliction of the sons of men, the holy Raphael. The third who presides over all is the powerful, is Gabriel. And the fourth who presides over repentance, the hope of those who will inherit eternal life, is Phanuel. These are the four angels of the Most High God, and their four voices, which at that time I heard. After this I beheld the secrets of the heavens and of paradise, according to its divisions, and of human action, as they weigh it there in balances. I saw the habitations of the elect, and the habitations of the holy, and there my eyes beheld all the sinners who denied the Lord of glory, and whom they were expelling from there, and dragging away, and they stood there, no punishment proceeding against them from the Lord of spirits. There too my eyes beheld the secrets of the lightning, and the thunder, and the secrets of the wind, how they were distributed as they blow over the earth, the secret of the winds, and of the dew, and of the clouds. There I perceived the place from which they issued forth, and became saturated with the dust of the earth. There I saw the wooden receptacles, out of which the winds became separated, the receptacle of hail, the receptacle of snow, the receptacle of clouds, and the cloud itself, which continued over the earth before the creation of the world. I beheld also the receptacles of the moon, whence they came, whither they proceeded, their glorious return, and how one became more splendid than another. I marked their rich progress, their unchangeable progress, their disunited and undiminished progress, their observance of a mutual fidelity by a stable oath, and their proceeding forth before the sun, and their adherence to the path allotted them, in obedience to the command of the Lord of spirits. Potent is his name forever and ever. After this I perceived that the path, both concealed and manifest to the moon, as well as the progress of its path, was there completed by day and by night, while each one with another looked towards the Lord of spirits, magnifying and praising without cessation, since praise to them is rest. For in the splendid sun there is a frequent conversation to blessing and to malediction. And this is a record that our sun itself has some type of sentience. The course of the moon's path to the righteous is light, but to the sinners it is darkness. In the name of the Lord of spirits, who created division between light and darkness, and separated the spirits of men, strengthened the spirits of righteousness in the name of his own righteousness. Nor does the angel prevent this, neither is he endowed with the power of preventing it. For the judge beholds them all, and judges them all in his own presence. Wisdom found not a place on earth where she could inhabit. Her dwelling, therefore, is in heaven. Wisdom went forth to dwell among the sons of men, but she obtained not a habitation. Wisdom returned to her place and seated herself in the midst of the angels. But iniquity went forth after her return, who unwillingly found a habitation, and resided among them, as rain in the desert, and as dew in a thirsty land. I beheld another splendor in the stars of heaven. I observed that he called them all by their respective names, and that they heard. In a righteous balance I saw that he weighed out with their light the amplitude of their places, and the day of their appearance, and their conversation. Splendor produced splendor, and their conversion was into the number of the angels and of the faithful. Okay, it says of their appearance and their conversion. I read that wrong. Then I inquired of the angel who proceeded with me, and explained to me secret things. What their names were, he answered, a similitude of those has the Lord of Spirit shown you. They are names of the righteous who dwell upon the earth, and who believe in the name of the Lord of Spirits forever and forever. Another thing also I saw respecting splendor, that it rises out of the stars and becomes splendor, being incapable of forsaking them. The second parable, respecting these who deny the names of habitation of the holy ones, and of the Lord of spirits. Heaven they shall not ascend, nor shall they come on the earth. This shall be the portion of sinners, who deny the name of the Lord of spirits, and who are thus reserved for the day of punishment and of affliction. In that day shall the elect ones sit upon the throne of glory, and shall choose their conditions and countless habitations, while their spirits within them shall be strengthened, when they behold my elect one. For those who have fled for protection to my holy and glorious name. In that day I will cause my elect one to dwell in the midst of them, will change the face of heaven, will bless it and illuminate it forever. I will also change the face of the earth, and will bless it, and cause those whom I have elected to dwell upon it. But those who have committed sin and iniquity shall not inhabit it, for I have marked their proceedings. My righteous ones will I satisfy with peace, placing them before me. But the condemnations of sinners shall draw near, that I may destroy them from the face of the earth. And this is the first day I've had cotton mouth. There I beheld the Ancient of Days, whose head was like wool, and with him another, whose countenance resembled that of a man. His countenance was full of grace, like that of the holy angels. Then I inquired of one of the angels who went with me, and who showed me every secret thing concerning the Son of Man, who he was, whence he was, and why he accompanied the Ancient of Days. He answered me and said to me, This is the Son of Man, to whom righteousness belongs, with whom righteousness has dwelt, and who will reveal all the treasures of that which is concealed. For the Lord of spirits has chosen him, and his portion has surpassed all before the Lord of spirits in everlasting uprightness. This Son of Man, whom you behold, shall raise up kings and the mighty from their dwelling places, and the powerful from their thrones, shall loosen the bridles of the powerful, and break in pieces the teeth of the sinners. He shall hurl kings from their thrones and their dominions, because they will not exalt and praise him, nor humble themselves before him, by whom their kingdoms were granted to them. The countenance likewise of the mighty shall he cast down, filling them with confusion. Darkness shall be their habitations, and worms shall be their bed. Nor from that their bed shall they hope to be again raised, because they exalted not the name of the Lord of spirits. They shall condemn the stars of heaven, shall lift up their hands against the Most High, shall tread upon and inhabit the earth, exhibiting all their acts of iniquity, even their works of iniquity. Their strength shall be in their riches, and their faith in the gods whom they have formed with their own hands. They shall deny the name of the Lord of spirits, and they shall expel him from the temples in which they assemble, and with him the faithful who suffer in the name of the Lord of spirits. In other words, he's going to drive out the faithful from their congregations. In that day, the prayer of the holy and righteous, and the blood of the righteous, shall ascend from the earth into the presence of the Lord of spirits. In that day shall the holy ones assemble, who dwell above the heavens, and with united voice petition, supplicate, praise, laud, and bless the name of the Lord of spirits, on account of the blood of the righteous which has been shed, that the prayer of the righteous may not be intermitted before the Lord of spirits, that for them he would execute judgment, and that his patience may not endure forever. At that time I beheld the Ancient of Days, while he sat upon the throne of his glory, while the book of the living was opened in his presence, and while the powers which were above the heavens stood around and before him. Then were the hearts of the saints full of joy, because the consummation of righteousness was arrived, and the supplication of the saints heard, and the blood of the righteous appreciated by the Lord of the spirits. In that place I beheld a fountain of righteousness, which never failed, encircled by many springs of wisdom. Of these all the thirsty drank, and were filled with wisdom, having their habitation with the righteous, the elect, and the holy. In that hour was the Son of Man invoked before the Lord of spirits, and his name in the presence of the Ancient of Days. Before the sun and the signs were created, before the stars of heaven were formed, his name was invoked in the presence of the Lord of spirits. A support shall he be for the righteous and the holy to lean upon, without falling, and he shall be a light of nations. He shall be the hope of those whose hearts are troubled. All who dwell on earth shall fall down and worship before him, shall bless and glorify him, and sing praises to the name of the Lord of spirits. Therefore the elect and concealed one exists in his presence before the world was created and forever. In his presence he existed, and has revealed to the saints and to the righteous the wisdom of the Lord of spirits. For he has preserved the lot of the righteous, because they have hated and rejected this world of iniquity, and have detested all its works and ways, in the name of the Lord of spirits. For in his name shall they be preserved, in his will shall be their life. In those days shall the kings of the earth and the mighty men, who have gained the world by their achievements, become humbled in countenance. For in the day of their anxiety and trouble, their souls shall not be saved, and they shall be in subjection to those whom I have chosen. I will cast them like hay into the fire, like lead into the water. Thus shall they burn in the presence of the righteous, and sink in the presence of the holy. nor shall a tenth part of them be found. But in the day of their trouble, the world shall obtain tranquility. In his presence shall they fall, and not be raised up again. Nor shall there be any one to take them out of his hands, and to lift them up. For they have denied the Lord of spirits and his Messiah. The name of the Lord of spirits shall be blessed. Evidently, there was 2 chapters labeled 48. So here's the other 48. Wisdom is poured forth like water, and glory fails not before him forever and ever. For potent is he in all the secrets of righteousness. But iniquity passes away like a shadow, and possesses not a fixed station. For the elect one stands before the Lord of spirits, and his glory is forever and ever, and his power from generation to generation. With him dwells the spirits of intellectual wisdom, the spirit of instruction and of power, and the spirit of those who sleep in righteousness. He shall judge secret things. Nor shall any be able to utter a single word before him, for the elect one is in the presence of the Lord of spirits, according to his own pleasure. When I refer to the Christ, this term here, the elect oneness, is what I also refer to, because my personal belief is if the Creator made a way for us to have free choice, he made a way for us to redeem that which was lost. And these texts have spoken of a Christ for centuries. And it's what every person who wants to place himself in the position or in place of Christ has strived to become. In those days, the saints and the chosen shall undergo a change. The light of day shall rest upon them, and the splendor and glory of the saints shall be changed. In the day of trouble, evil shall be heaped upon sinners, but the righteous shall triumph in the name of the Lord of spirits. And for those who believe in the coming evolution, I believe this is speaking toward that change of what the new people are going to be. Others shall be made to see that they must repent and forsake the works of their hands, and that glory awaits them not in the presence of the Lord of spirits, yet that by his name they may be saved. The Lord of spirits will have compassion on them, for great is his mercy, and righteousness is in his judgment, and in the presence of his glory. Nor in his judgment shall iniquity stand. He who repents not before him shall perish. Henceforth I will not have mercy on them, saith the Lord of spirits. So we have record that at some point in time the mercy ends. In those days shall the earth deliver up from her womb, and hell deliver up from hers that which it has received, and destruction shall restore that which it owes. And that's what I'm talking about, them coming up from the earth. He shall select the righteous and the holy from among them, for the day of their salvation has approached. And in those days shall the elect one sit upon his throne, while every secret of intellectual wisdom shall proceed from his mouth, for the Lord of spirits has gifted and glorified him. In those days the mountains shall skip like rams, and the hills shall leap like young sheep, satiated with milk, and all the righteous shall become like angels in heaven, and their countenance shall be bright with joy. For in those days shall the elect one be exalted, and the earth shall rejoice, and the righteous shall inhabit it, and the elect possess it. So out of this coming catechism, our physical bodies are going to be changed into those of the countenance of angels again. After that period, in the place where I had seen every secret sight, I was snatched up in a whirlwind and carried off westward. There my eyes beheld the secrets of heaven, and all which existed on earth. A mountain of iron, a mountain of copper, a mountain of silver, a mountain of gold, a mountain of fluid metal, and a mountain of lead. Of course, fluid metal being mercury. And I inquired of the angel who went with me, saying, What are these things which in secret I behold? He said, All these things which you behold shall be for the dominion of the Messiah, that he may command and be powerful upon the earth. And that angel of peace answered me, saying, Wait but a short time, and you shall understand, and every secret thing shall be revealed to you, which the Lord of spirits has decreed. Those mountains which you have seen, the mountain of iron, the mountain of copper, the mountain of silver, the mountain of gold, the mountain of fluid metal, and the mountain of lead, all these in the presence of the elect one shall be like a honeycomb before the fire, and like water descending from above upon these mountains, and shall become debilitated before his feet. In those days men shall not be saved by gold and by silver, nor shall they have it in their power to secure themselves and to fly. Whoa, I never noticed that. There shall be neither iron for war, nor a coat of mail for the breast. Copper shall be useless, useless also that which neither rusts nor consumes away, and lead shall not be coveted. All these things shall be rejected and perish from off the earth, when the elect one shall appear in the presence of the Lord of spirits. There my eyes beheld a deep valley, and wide was its entrance. All who dwell on land, on the sea, and in islands shall bring to it gifts, presents, and offerings. Yet that deep valley shall not be full. Their hands shall commit iniquity. Whatsoever they produce by labor, the sinners shall devour with crime. But they shall perish from the face of the Lord of spirits, and from the face of the earth. They shall stand up and shall not fail forever and ever. I beheld the angels of punishment, who were dwelling there, and preparing every instrument of Satan. Then I inquired of the angel of peace who proceeded with me, for whom those instruments were preparing. He said, These they preparing for the kings and the powerful ones of the earth, that thus they may perish. After which the righteous and the chosen house of his congregation shall appear, and thenceforward unchangeable in the name of the Lord of spirits. Nor shall those mountains exist in his presence as the earth and the hills, as the fountains of water exist, and the righteous shall be relieved from the vexation of sinners. Then I looked, and I turned myself to another part of earth, where I beheld a deep valley burning with fire. To this valley they brought monarchs and the mighty. And there my eyes beheld the instruments which they were making, fetters of iron without weight. Then I inquired of the angel of peace who preceded me with me, saying, For whom are these fetters and instruments prepared? He replied, These are prepared for the host of Azazel, and that they may be delivered over and adjudged to the lowest condemnation, and that their angels may be overwhelmed with hurled stones, as the Lord of spirits has commanded. Michael and Gabriel, Raphael and Phanuel shall be strengthened in that day, and shall then cast them into a furnace of blazing fire, that the Lord of spirits may be avenged of them for their crimes, because they became ministers of Satan, and seduced those who dwell upon the earth. In those days shall punishment go forth from the Lord of spirits, and the receptacles of water which are above the heavens shall be opened, and the fountains likewise which are under the heavens and under the earth. All the waters which are in the heavens above them shall be mixed together. The waters which is above heaven shall be the agent, and the waters which is under the earth shall be the recipient. And all shall be destroyed who dwell upon earth, and who dwell under the extremities of heaven. By these means shall they understand the iniquity with which committed on earth, and by these means shall they perish. It says that passage was written as a male and female. After the Ancient of Days repented and said, In vain have I destroyed all the inhabitants of the earth. And he sware by his great name, saying, Henceforth I will not act thus towards all those who dwell upon the earth, but I will place a sign in the heaven, and it shall be a faithful witness between me and them forever, as long as the days of heaven and the earth last, as long as the days of heaven and earth last upon the earth. Afterwards, according to this my decree, when I shall be disposed to seize them beforehand, by the instrumentality of angels in the days of affliction and trouble. My wrath and my punishment shall remain upon them. My punishment, my wrath, saith the Lord of spirits. O you kings, O you mighty who inhabit the world, you shall behold my elect one, sitting upon the throne of my glory, and he shall judge as Azel, all his associates and all his hosts, in the name of the Lord of spirits. There likewise I beheld hosts of angels who were moving in punishment, confined in the network of iron and brass. Then I inquired of the angel of peace who preceded me, to whom under the confinement were going. He said, to each of their elect and their beloved, that they may be cast into the fountains of the deep recesses of the valley, and that the valley shall be filled with their elect and beloved, the day of whose life shall be consumed, but the days of their error shall be innumerable. Then shall princes combine together and conspire. The chiefs of the east among the Parthians and Medes shall remove kings, in whom a spirit of perturbation shall enter. They shall hurl them from their thrones, springing as lions from their dens, and like famished wolves into the midst of the flock. They shall go up and tread upon the land of their elect. The land of their elect shall be before them. The threshing floor, the path, and the city of my righteous people shall impede their progress of their horses. They shall rise up to destroy each other. Their right hand shall be strengthened, nor shall a man acknowledge his friend or his brother, nor the son his father and his mother, until the number of the dead bodies shall be completed, by their death and punishment. Neither shall this take place without cause. In those days shall the mouth of hell be opened, into which they shall be immersed. Hell shall destroy and swallow up sinners from the face of the elect. After this I beheld another army of chariots with men riding in them, and they came upon the wind from the east, from the west, and from the south. The sound of the noise of their chariots was heard. And when the agitation took place, the saints out of heaven perceived it. The pillar of the earth shook from its foundation, and the sound was heard from the extremities of the earth unto the extremities of heaven at the same time. Then they all fell down and worshipped the Lord of the spirits. This is the end of the second parable. Yep, sounds to me like the earth's going to crack. It's going to crack so loud it's going to be heard on earth and in heaven. It says the pillar of the earth sits upon. It's a very interesting idea. Bounce back here for a quick cigarette break. We're almost to the end of this. See if anything good's been going on in chat. Reggie headed to town. And Ball for Life headed to town to shop. Good deal, guys, and have a good day. Hope you find everything you need. Not saying anything about what you're doing, but if you ever learn to take a day of rest, not going to town is pleasant. Newts and Nugs, cheers. Hope you're doing all right today, buddy. Almost to the end of the book of Enoch. Got just a couple more chapters in First Enoch. I think that's all I'm going to read this week. Second Enoch is somewhat of a repeat of First Enoch with some new and added information. I'll review that through the week and see if we're going to look into it later. I found reference in a couple different places this week to the Oxford Online Library, and I tried to get to it, but I seem not to be able to find the right one. It seems that there are a new set of texts that have been released I might be able to dig through. It's a pretty nice day out here today in my area of Florida. I peeked out the door this morning. I'm going to run up and do a walk this afternoon. Cheers. All week long I set up for a garage sale that I worked on yesterday and I'm going to do again tomorrow. People kept reading my ad and saying, "What about Saturday? What about Saturday?" Which gave me a good opportunity to tell them I just rest that day. Hopefully I have a good turnout on Sunday. Volunteer agriculture, I understand that in this day and age. But living in town, there's also a grace that goes along with that when you have to do that. Back in 2005, me and my family started on a journey to find property to homestead. We sold our house in Miami, Florida the day of Hurricane Katrina hitting New Orleans. We had everything packed up, closed on it, and got on the road, headed to Tennessee that very day. Made it to North Florida and couldn't buy but $10 of diesel at a time. Driving a diesel truck, pulling a 40-foot travel trailer required quite a bit, so it took us 3 or 4 days of staying in town and going getting our daily allotment before we were able to pull out of North Florida and get back to where gas wasn't regulated. We then started in Bristol, and we spent most of 2006 traveling across Tennessee looking at different pieces of property, prices. We had a bullet list of things that we, as a husband and wife, had agreed had to be on the property in order for us to buy it, and could not find one until we arrived in Linden, Tennessee. We found the property. It had all the points we'd agreed on, and it took us another year after that to close on it, during which time we worked as a ranger for a camping association. We did odd jobs for them and bounced around Tennessee some more, looking at different areas. We spent from 2006 to 2016 building a farm and raising my kids on it. I still own the farm there in Tennessee. In 2016, I lost my father and moved back to Florida to help mother, and have been in the middle of Constant City ever since then, because this area of the coast, there's hardly any place you go that you're not seeing some type of house or business. Every Saturday in Tennessee, I had 17 acres to wander around. I had 1,500 foot of creek to play on. Me and the girls and the boys, when they were younger, would spend the day on Saturday wandering around the property and exploring and playing and having a good old time out in nature. It's been hard to capture since coming back, but I've done a little bit of that with my afternoon walks on Saturday, getting out to see something different. Newt says no reason to leave the house after 11 a.m. Yeah, during tourist season in Florida, between about 7:30 and 9, you have to worry about everybody going to work, and then from about 9:30 to somewhere around 3:30, you got to worry about all the tourists, and then from 3:30 to about 5:30, 6 o'clock, you got to worry about all those who are trying to get home in the midst of all those tourists. And that is a polite term, a cluster bomb, a cluster F, because it's just a mess in the evenings. And my buddy Newts is down in a very highly touristy area. So he gets as much of it as I do. I'm on the some called the Gold Coast. It's sandy beaches of Central Florida. A lot of people come here because it's some of the best beaches in the world. We've got one of them listed as number 3 in the world. Um, I've done one beach walk. I normally don't do them during season because of all the bikinis. It's not my thing. Um, I like the colder days to go to the beach. Uh, I like to go for the nature, not the natural. Or a la natural, as some like to be. All right, taking one more sip and head back into this. Oh, we're hitting chapter 56 here. I now began to utter the third parable concerning the saints and the elect. Blessed are you, O saints and elect, for glorious is your lot. The saints shall exist in the light of the sun, and the elect in the light of everlasting life. The days of whose life shall never terminate, nor shall the days of the saints be numbered, who seek for light, and who obtain righteousness with the Lord of spirits. Peace for the saints with the Lord of the world. Henceforth shall the saints be told to seek in heaven the secrets of righteousness, the portion of faith. For like the sun has it arisen upon the earth, while darkness has passed away. There shall be light interminable, nor shall they enter upon the enumeration of time. For darkness shall be previously destroyed, and light shall increase before the Lord of spirits. Before the Lord of spirits shall the light of uprightness increase forever and ever. And I'm going to take a brief pause there because recently I was having a conversation with a friend in which we were talking about this from a different aspect, a different text. And I think it's interesting that it's in here as well, that the darkness is fighting so hard because it knows that the eventual outcome is that light is going to overcome and just go on forever. It's going to push out all darkness. It's going to continue to expand at some point in time. And it says that the elect are those that choose this path of light. In those days my eyes beheld the secrets of the lightnings and the splendors and the judgments belonging to them. They lighten for a blessing and for a curse, according to the will of the Lord of spirits. And there I saw the secrets of the thunder, where it rattles above in the heaven, and its sound is heard. The habitation also of the earth were shown to me. The sound of the thunder is for peace and for blessing, as well as for a curse, according to the word of the Lord of spirits. Afterwards, every secret of the splendors and of the lightnings was seen by me. For blessing and for fertility they lighten. In the 500th year, in the 7th month, on the 14th day of the month, of the lifetime of Enoch, in that parable I saw that heaven of heavens shook, and it shook violently, and that the powers of the Most High, and the angels, thousands and thousands, and myriads were agitated with great agitation. And when I looked, the Ancient of Days was sitting on the throne of his glory, while the angels and saints were standing around him. A great trembling came upon me, and a terror seized me. My loins were bowed down and loosened. My reins were dissolved, and I fell upon my face. The holy Michael, another holy angel, one of the holy ones, was sent, who raised me up. The 7th month and 14th day is also a feast day in the calendar of the Creator. And when he raised me, my spirit returned, for I was incapable of enduring this vision of violence, its agitation, and the concussion of heaven. Then holy Michael said to me, "Why are you disturbed at this vision? Hitherto has existed the day of mercy, and he has been merciful and long-suffering to all who dwell upon the earth. But when the time shall come, then shall the power, the punishment, and the judgment take place, when the Lord of spirits has prepared for those who prostrate themselves to the judgment of righteousness, for those who abjure that judgment, and for those who take his name in vain. That day has been prepared for the elect as a day of covenant, and for the sinners as a day of inquisition. In that day shall be distributed for food 2 monsters, a female monster whose name is Leviathan, dwelling in the depths of the sea above the springs of water, and a male monster whose name is Behemoth, which possesses, moving on his breast, the invisible wilderness. This is the first time I've seen it described as an invisible wilderness, even though I've read this many times. His name is Dindayan, in the east of the garden, where the elect and the righteous will dwell, where he received it from my ancestor, who was man, from Adam, the first of men, whom the Lord of spirits made. Then I asked of another angel, who showed me the power of the monsters, how they became separated on the same day, one being the depths of the sea, and one in the dry desert. And he said, You, son of man, are here desirous of understanding secret things. And the angel of peace who was with me said, These 2 monsters are by the power of God prepared to become food, that the punishment of God may not be in vain. Then shall the children be slain with their mothers, and the sons with their fathers. And when the punishment of the Lord of spirits shall continue, upon them shall it continue. And the punishment of the Lord of spirits may not take place in vain. After that, judgment shall exist with the mercy and long suffering. I'm trying to remember where it is, but there's another text somewhere which says that one of these great battles in this final thing is that the Leviathan is slain and the people come and actually eat its carcass. So I think that's what it's talking about. Then another angel who proceeded with me spoke to me, and showed me the first and the last secrets in heaven above and in the depths of the earth, in the extremities of heaven and in the foundations of it, and in the receptacle of the winds. He showed me how their spirits were divided, how they were balanced, and how both the springs and the winds were numbered according to the force of their spirit. He showed me the power of the moon's light, and the power is a just one, as well as the division of the stars, according to their respective names. And I'm going to say right now, it's interesting that people are starting to realize that the moon projects a different light than the sun, even though we've been told it is a reflection. That every division is divided, and that the lightning flashes, that its troops immediately obey, and that the cessation takes place during thunder and continuance of its sound. Nor are the thunder and the lightning separated, neither do both of them move with one spirit, yet they are not separated. For when the lightning lightens, the thunder sounds, and the spirit at a proper period pauses, making an equal division between them. For the receptacle upon which their periods depend is loose as sand. Each of them at a proper season is restrained with a bridle, and turned by the power of the Spirit, which thus propels them according to the spacious extent of the earth. The spirit likewise of the sea is potent and strong, and as strong as power causes it to ebb. So is it driven forward, and scattered against the mountains of the earth. The spirit of the frost has its angel. In the spirit of hail there is a good angel. The spirit of snow ceases in its strength, and a solitary spirit is in it, which ascends from it like vapor, and it's called refrigeration. The spirit also of mist dwells with them in their receptacle, but it has a receptacle to itself, for its progress is in splendor. In light and in darkness, in winter and in summer, its receptacle is bright, and an angel is in it. The spirit of the dew has its abode in the extremities of heaven, in connection with the receptacle of rain, and its progress is in winter and in summer. The cloud produced by it and the cloud of the mist become united. One gives to the other, and when the spirit of rain is in motion from its receptacle, angels come, and opening its receptacle bring it forth. When likewise it is sprinkled over all the earth, it forms a union with every kind of water on the ground. For the water remains on the ground, because they afford nourishment to the earth from the Most High who is in heaven. Upon this count, therefore, there is a regulation in the quantity of rain which the angels receive. These things I saw, all of them, even in paradise. In those days I beheld long ropes given to those angels who took to their wings and fled, advancing toward the north. And I inquired of the angel, saying, Whence have they taken those long ropes and gone forth? And he said, They are gone forth to measure. The angel who proceeded with me said, These are the measures of the righteous. The cords shall the righteous bring, and they may trust in the name of the Lord of spirits forever and ever. The elect shall begin to dwell with the elect. And these are the measures which shall be given to faith, and which shall strengthen the words of righteousness. These measures shall reveal all the secrets in the depths of the earth. And it shall be that those who have been destroyed in the desert, and who have been devoured by the fish of the sea and by the wild beasts, shall return, and trust in the day of the elect one. For none shall perish in the presence of the Lord of spirits, nor shall any be capable of perishing. Then they received the commandment, and all who were in the heavens above, to whom a combined power, voice, and splendor like fire were given. And first, with their voice, they blessed him, they exalted him, they glorified him with wisdom, and ascribed to him wisdom with the word and with the breath of life. Then the Lord of spirits, seated upon the throne of his glory, the elect one, who shall judge all the works of the holy in the heaven above, and in the balance shall he weigh their actions. And when he shall lift up his hands, countenance to judge their secret ways in the word of the name of the Lord of spirits, and their progress in the path of righteous judgment of the God Most High. They shall all speak with united voice, and bless and glorify, exalt and praise the name of the Lord of spirits. And he shall call to every power of the heaven, to all the holy above, and to the power of God, the cherubim, the seraphim, and the Ophanim, all the angels of power, and all the angels of the Lord's, namely the elect one, and other power, who was upon earth over the water on that day, shall raise their united voice, shall bless, glorify, praise, and exalt with the spirit of faith, and with the spirit of wisdom and patience, with the spirit of mercy, with the spirit of judgment and peace, and with the spirit of benevolence, and shall say with a united voice, Blessed is he, and the name of the Lord of spirits shall be blessed forever and forever. All who sleep not shall bless it in the heaven above. All the holy in heaven shall bless it, and the elect who dwell in the garden of life, and every spirit of light who is capable of blessing, glorifying, exalting, and praising your holy name, and every mortal man, more than the powers of heaven, shall glorify and bless your name forever and ever. For great is the mercy of the Lord of spirits, long-suffering is he, and all his works. All his power, great are the things which he has done. He has revealed to the saints and to the elect in the name of the Lord of spirits. And that is the end of the first book of Enoch. This is often referred to as the Ethiopian Enoch because it was found among the Ethiopian texts. Let me see. There might be a second section to this. There is a second section to First Enoch. I was backwards on which ones I thought were which. And it's chapter 61 through 105. So we're going to hold that and read the second part of it next week. I'm trying to remember what the second part was. But anyways, coming back to the chat real quick. Quick wrap up. I do appreciate everybody for visiting me today. For all you that are going to listen later, I hope you find it enjoyable and pleasant, and hope you can find some light in it. Make a couple real quick comments. Keep making reference to morality and things like that. A lot of people automatically think of just one particular aspect of morality, but morality encompasses anything that we do that affects another or ourselves as far as our position within the spiritual. too often we have a selfish morality nowadays. It's not particularly an evil one, it's more of a self centered one. What's best for me to the exclusion of those around us. The path of light says, how is my action going to affect all those around me? Um, I think that's where, as we talk through these things, we begin to see some of these things, we might be able to start to make better judgments. Uh, I don't really have a good example this time, so I'll just stop there. Another thing I want to say is I've heard a lot of comments in the past, and especially when I was reading this with my children, everybody says, "Oh, you're going to spend eternity just singing to God or whatever. How's that anything that's going to be good?" And I think it misses the point that even now we're supposed to bless Him in everything we do and say, and I believe that's what it means in that coming time. Not particularly that we're all there standing having one big praise session, as Christians like to call it, but that might have a time period or frame that does happen. I'm not going to say it doesn't, because there's obviously a judgment period when all things are gathered together. But it also says that there's new heaven, new earth. All this is prepared for us to continue on with an existence, a glorified body. It says we're going to have a shiny, bright countenance. Um, we're going to have a continued life upon the earth. The difference is it says that all these curses are going to be rolled back and the blessings are going to be rolled out. So where we've spent all this time over the last years cursing each other and cursing our government and cursing our churches and cursing this, that, and the other, well, we reap the fruit of that. We come into a period of curse. And out of that curse comes this cataclysm. And from that, all those curses are rolled up into a ball, paid for, discarded, and all blessing rolls forward from then on. And that's what these things are trying to show, that we have a hope that all this negativity and evil that comes against us on a daily basis is going to be corrected and taken care of. Yes, we don't understand why it seems to have power and authority right now, but by it having that power and authority, it falls under its own judgment. We don't have to judge it, it judges itself. It brings itself under its own authority structure to be judged by. And but anyways, those are the two things I was thinking about while I was reading through this today. And for all you who hung out and listened to the end, may y'all have a blessed day. Anybody who picks this up later, I pray for you a blessed day. I hope you find the peace of the Sabbath, a day of rest and relaxation that will help heal you, both inside your soul and your mind. Hopefully, as we read, you'll begin to have faith in the Creator and in the path of light that we have before us, and at the possibility that this is all going to end one day. Shabbat Shalom.